Good evening and welcome to Angel's Haven. I got a couple of messages from people that wanted to hear a little bit about how my tiny journey is going. So I'm going to try and record just a few minutes about that. I had been working on my bedroom. I've reorganized everything that's stored under my bed, and actually there isn't much there anymore, just my summer clothes and a couple of boxes of pictures, it seems. So I thought it would take a few minutes to talk about how Tiny Life developed, what my life has been like since I moved here, and how I feel about continuing to live in a tiny house. For anybody that doesn't know, I moved here, my house got here November of 2017. I came in December of 2017. I'm eating an orange. It's citrus season in California, Northern California anyway. So I got here December 2017, and for most of 2018, I was sort of going back and forth. In the interim, since then, I guess I've lived here full time since November, December of 2018. From all of 2018, I was back and forth. I stayed with a friend when I was in Kansas City. In the fall of 2018, I started working freelance for two different attorneys. I had not planned to stay in the legal profession. I had a job at a not-for-profit, which I was supposed to start in June of 2018. That would have been in San Francisco. Actually in North Bay, Sonoma County, I think it was. And I couldn't start that job when planned because one of the cases that I was handling in Kansas City, where I was guardian ad litem to two children who had been abused by their father, and I was trying to get his contact with them substantially curtailed. It was continued till September of 2018, or maybe October. Ultimately, we resolved it without trial, but I couldn't walk out on those kids. So I started doing freelance work for two different attorneys, one in Elk Grove and one in Rio Vista, with the intention of finding another not-for-profit opportunity. And I applied for and interviewed for 75 or more jobs, and I was repeatedly told that I was the most qualified candidate, but was more qualified than the person who would be supervising me, which was, in my mind, code for I was too old. And I was 7 years younger then than I am now. So in January of 2019, I became a full-time resident. One of the two jobs offered me more hours. The other attorney ultimately passed away from cancer, which was sad. So that attorney, the one in Rio Vista, I have now worked for her since October of 2018, but more hours were added in 2019. It's an estate planning firm. I had never done estate planning, and I don't have a California license. I didn't take the bar. but it's a good gig, as they say. Pay is decent, and I'm glad to have it. Uh, so, in that same year, I started helping with a small not for profit here at Park Delta Bay, where I live. And then the pandemic hit, and I continued working in the law firm, but we also started an outdoor market, which I've now done for this will be our fifth year or sixth year, 20, 21, 20 years, our fifth year. I had to count on my fingers how many years it's been since the pandemic. Uh, then in November of 2023, I opened the Creative Collective, the art co-op that I have in Isleton. And so that's my life. In the interim, since I've been here, as anyone knows me back home will notice, I've gained back about half of the weight I had lost when I got sick. I gained the weight getting sick because they put me on prednisone and a few other steroids. Um, and I had lost it in, oh gosh, the years kind of run together. I had gained it all in 2008. I lost it in 2009. So I gained it suddenly from the steroids, and then I lost it with a lot of effort. I've gained about 35 or 40 pounds since I've been here, which is not necessarily good. Uh, so that's kind of an overview of my life. My health is fairly good, other than having B cell leukemia, which is a slow growing leukemia. They discovered that a couple of years ago. I just had testing today. They just randomly do testing. We'll see. The only thing odd about it is I have two strains of it, and apparently that's unusual. So, of course, the community in which I live is actually an RV park. It's called Park Delta Bay RV Park and Tiny House Resort. There are presently, we think maybe 12 or 13 owner-occupied tiny houses, full-time, maybe 11. There's a little truck here with like a caravan truck. That woman, I haven't actually met her. She's been here 2 months. I think I'm told she is a botanist, like a traveling botanist, but I haven't met her. I think there might be 2 people in it because there are 2 vehicles. And then there are, actually, I almost have to count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Currently, I think there are 10 tiny houses. One of those is leaving. They're moving to private property because the husband got a job change. That's kind of sad. They've been here a while. And there's a couple that lives here in a trailer, and they are working on getting a tiny house. There are about 100 spots in the park. Let's see, maybe 80, 75 or so, maybe 80 are full-time parkers, RV trailers, tiny houses, and the rest are vacation spots. On our side of the park, there's a circle road, and on the other side, it's more traditional rows. We are on the San Joaquin River, and our side of the park is the west end of the park, and the tiny houses are on the south side of the west side. So we're on the levee side, and then there's a what they call a creek that runs through the meadow. It isn't really a creek. I think it might be an old creek bed, but what it really is a conduit for river runoff. There are pipes that come into the park. There may have been a creek there at one time, but mostly it's river runoff. This park has a marina. There are 4 or 5 liveaboards, and then the other slips are vacation or day slips. So there's a slough between the levee and the marina, and then on the other side of the marina is the San Joaquin. We are just east of the confluence of the San Joaquin and the Sacramento. If you go on beyond west of here, you go through a bay, and then eventually, I'm getting a phone call. That's weird. Eventually, you come to the San Francisco Bay. And then, let me think about this. So we're on the Delta Loop, the California Delta Loop. And this is so weird. I'm filming on my phone, as usual, and I was getting a phone call. And so there was an icon popped up. I don't know whether that'll be in front of me or not when you see this. I'll try and edit it out. Well, anyway, we're on the California Delta Loop, which is a 10-mile loop of Delta roads that run parallel to either the San Joaquin or the Mokelumne River. The Mokelumne eventually has its origins, I think that's the right word, up in the Sierra Nevada foothills. And the San Joaquin goes to Stockton, and I don't really know what it does beyond Stockton. I'd have to look at a map. I've seen Stockton Harbor. It's quite lovely. And I've seen the confluence, obviously. I drive past it every day. But I don't know where it goes after Stockton. I'll have to look. I'm rambling. I was distracted by the telephone call. So the messages that I got from people were people wondering whether I still like living tiny, why I decided to go tiny, why I chose the place that I am. The simple answer to do I still like living tiny is yes, with a footnote. Tiny houses are obviously, by definition, they are rectangular, and I've discovered that I don't really like living in a rectangle. It helps a little bit that I have an upstairs bedroom and a downstairs sitting room, but it's still a rectangle, and kind of by rectangle, what I mean is that it's linear: bathroom, kitchen, end of the house. So one of the projects that I have planned for this spring is I have an 8x8 deck. I originally, when I moved here, I had someone build a deck that was supposed to be 6x6, and they had leftover lumber. And of course, it's because they built it like 3x6 instead of 6x6. So a few years ago, I had an 8x8 deck added to it. the 3x6 became sort of the pathway down, and I'll film this eventually. And then there are little steps, and then I have a little garden. So what I'm planning on doing, which I have a couple potential people to do this project. I currently have a big umbrella that actually is an 8 foot, 8 foot, isn't a circle. It's I think it might be a trapezoid, but it's basically an 8 foot in diameter. It covers the whole deck when it's open, but the cable breaks all the time, and that's less than optimal. So what I'm planning on doing is having someone put pillars on the deck. There's a plant trellis on the north side, and I'm going to put pillars on 3 corners and float a sun sail down from the house to the west side of the deck. So those 2 pillars. And then I'm going to put some kind of screening on the south side, so across from the plant trellis, and the west side, so that I'm not really going to justify the expense of walls, not going to close it in. And you can't put something flimsy up because we get 45 and 50-mile-an-hour winds, not all the time, but when they blow, they blow. And we get a lot of winds, less than that, 20 or 30 miles per hour. The delta winds. Don't quote me on the miles per hour, but they're pretty serious. And we also get earthquakes, so you can't mess around. But something, maybe just lattice work, something wooden that will hold, and just to give kind of privacy. And then with the sun sail and a little bit of privacy, it will be more like a room, maybe a Les Nessman room, but a room. And then I have a big table out there, but it's too high just to comfortably eat on, so I'm going to get a lower table. My love seat that I moved out is out there. It has a cover on it, really, really nice cover. And my friend Michelle Burke thinks we can waterproof the fabric, but in another week or two, the rains will stop and it won't rain again until next January. So a love seat can be out there all summer. It'll fade, but I only paid $50 for it secondhand 4 years ago. So it's the kind of love seat that, and I think you might have seen it in videos, but it's the kind of love seat that's kind of intended for a sun porch, not outdoor, but not indoor. So I think that would be nice. I think I'll feel a little more, a little less hemmed in by the rectangular nature of the house. Aside from the rectangle issue, I do like living tiny. I find myself less and less interested in material goods, spending time cleaning, although my house needs to be thoroughly cleaned right now. There's so much else to do in the world. I do like sitting quietly and reading, and that's nice. You can do that in a tiny house, and you can keep it reasonably neat and tidy. Why I'm at Park Delta Bay is that the place I was supposed to be, which was in Sonoma County, burned down in a 2017 fire. If I had been out here already, I would have been in that fire. But I was on the waiting list, and the people called me and said, oh, not the waiting list, the reservation list, because I was due in October or November, and they called me and said, we don't have a place for you, and they knew about Park Delta Bay. So I came here. I came over the Antioch Bridge. I was staying on the coast. And when you come over the Antioch Bridge, which is quite long and quite high and goes over the Sacramento River, Yeah, the Sacramento River, just before the bay, not the big bay, but I think it's the Sassoon Bay. Don't quote me on that. Um, but anyway, as you come over that, you're over a river, and then you come down into basically a river town. You're not in the town yet, you're in Parkland. But it felt very familiar. I grew up in St. Louis, which is a river town, and I raised my son in Kansas City, which is a river town. Uh, it just felt familiar, and that's how I ended up here. It's called the Sacramento San Joaquin California Delta. I think it's the official title. Uh, my plan is to stay. I say that with some hesitation. If you had asked me 2 years ago, are you going to stay? I would have said, no, I want to move to the coast. But then I opened my shop, and I guess I'm here for the duration. I'm turning 70 this year. I know that's hard to believe. It's hard for me to believe. I have good neighbors, a good community, a nice tiny house, and it seems to be working. I published a book 2 years ago, a collection of essays. I'm working on another book. I like that. I like doing that. I'll probably use the same publisher. It's basically self-published through a small publisher in Kansas City. Write the Future, which is a division of Spartan Press, which is owned by Will Leatham, who is co-owner of Prospero's bookstore in Kansas City. And I'm really glad that I did that. And I'm looking forward to doing another one. So that's my tiny life. My recommendation, if you are thinking of going tiny, if you're out here, I recommend Pacifica Tiny Homes. I have known other builders. I did not use a tiny house builder. I used a carpenter. I don't recommend that. It was less expensive than a tiny house builder, but I spent a bunch of money redoing things that he didn't do in a way that worked. And I think the things that they weren't really mistakes, they were just decisions he made that I don't think he would have made them in the same way if he had been an experienced tiny house builder. Make sure you have insurance. Make sure you make thoughtful decisions about layout and design. Work with your builder every step of the way. Don't let them make any decisions for you. Those are the things that I ended up changing. But yeah, whether you go tiny in a tiny house, an RV, a trailer, a boat, a schoolie, whatever you do, make sure it works for you. And go stay in one. If you're thinking of going tiny, go stay in one. I didn't do that, but it would have been helpful information. Again, some of the things I changed were things that I probably would have known. I learned how to change them by living here. And I think if I had stayed in a tiny house, several perhaps, or an RV, it would have given me insight that I would have put into the layout when we were building. So that's my tiny story overview. If you have any specific questions, you can leave a comment or you can email me. My email is ccorleyjd@gmail.com. I'll answer any question, any reasonable question, not personal, about tiny living, and do my best to share with you what I've learned along the way. So if you like this video, please feel free to subscribe. I am not trying to build a big YouTube life, but it's nice when I get comments, and it was a couple of messages that I got from people that have prompted me to do this video. So thanks for spending a few minutes of my tiny life with me, and I'll see you next time.